We are about to meet a police officer who saved a man's life in rather dramatic fashion.
You might remember a couple weeks ago, traffic on I-95 between Maine and New Hampshire was at a standstill for hours as police tried to talk a man down from a bridge. News Center Maine's Zach Blanchard has more now on the successful rescue effort and the push to make sure that more lives are saved.
It's a normal Thursday morning. Traffic is flowing between Maine and New Hampshire over the Piscataqua River Bridge. Until suddenly, the traffic and time stops.
You guys said you have rescue on standby.
A man on the bridge is in crisis and threatening to jump.
It was pretty wild. You know, in my career, I've not been in that situation.
Portsmouth Police Detective Rochelle Jones scrambled to help.
You know, there was no question and there was no discussion that this person's life was more important than closing traffic, than losing, you know, thousands of dollars like that day. And none of us had to have that conversation. It was like, this takes as long as it takes, you know, to save this person's life.
Cars on I-95 were at a standstill for hours as police responded. 135 feet in the air, alongside crisis negotiators and Maine State Police, Rochelle did what anyone would do. She simply introduced herself.
Hi, you know, I'm Rochelle. I'm from the police department. Like, you asked for me.
And got to know the man.
You know, for me, it was tuning everything out as if we were the only two people there.
Then one gesture changed everything. As another officer held her belt, she says she reached over the rail and handed the man a cigarette.
He just reached up and he took it very softly and grazed my hand, you know, and we just looked at each other, like right in the eyes, and just kind of gave him a nod and took it back. And it was just that moment of, okay, like, he wasn't aggressive, he didn't try and hurt me, he didn't try and pull me with him, you know, and we just had that moment and saw each other as people.
With that connection and more back and forth conversation, eventually she says she was able to convince him to climb up a ladder. He walked to her cruiser and got in. After 4 long hours, it was over. A life saved.
In situations like this with police, they don't always end this way.
No, it doesn't.
There are times when mental health situations end in a deadly police shooting. In Maine, this year alone, there have been several. This report by Maine's Deadly Force Review Panel is calling for law enforcement agencies in the state to implement plans on how to respond to mental health crises. The panel reviewed 10 different cases from 2017 to 2020. It found 90% of them involved a person experiencing a mental health crisis.
Suggestions?
It's why trainings like these matter.
Officers right now are just struggling with identifying resources.
NAMI Maine holds CIT, Crisis Intervention Team trainings for police officers across the state, giving them the human tools they need to handle some of the toughest situations.
We know that about a third of the mental health crises in the state, law enforcement is the primary responder to those calls.
And with the pandemic, the need has never been greater. Instructor Hannah Longley says, according to department data, in some parts of the state, mental health calls to police have increased by as much as 60%.
We have departments that are fully engaged and invested in implementing it as a community-based program and moving forward with that. We have other departments that struggle with having resources and capacity.
Fortunately, in Jones's case, that training was there, and she used it.
It can't be a power struggle, you know, and that day, and with anybody in his situation, they hold all the cards.
Jones says in order for more situations to end this way, we don't just need more training or resources. We just have to talk about it.
We have to fight that stigma. You know, people have to feel comfortable asking for help or talking about things, and you have to listen.
Now, at last check, that man, who we are not identifying, is getting the help he needs in a mental health facility. Detective Jones says she stayed in touch and plans to meet up with him for lunch when he's back on his feet.
Some really powerful stuff there, Zach. And aside from the training and resources, I know Detective Jones isn't just a regular police officer.
No, she's not. She's actually their community outreach coordinator, which is a role that is becoming more and more common in departments across the country. Really focused here not on just patrolling and catching criminals, but engaging with community members, getting to know them, building relationships, and ultimately becoming a resource for situations just like this one, guys.
Thank you, Zach. And we want to remind everyone, if you or someone you needs help, you can call the Maine Crisis Hotline 24/7. The number is 888-568-1112.